grow my confidence and be more comfortable while I'm out there playing.
Things may not be as smooth as they seem for Bronny James at the Los Angeles Lakers. The young guard has opened up about why he can no longer work with his coach, hinting at deeper issues behind the scenes. But the real reason is something no one saw coming. And this changes everything you thought you knew. The setup. Bronny James was never supposed to be a normal NBA story. From the moment the Los Angeles Lakers selected him 55th overall in the 2024 NBA draft, the question was never really about basketball. It was about legacy. It was about a father who had spent 2 decades bending the NBA to his will, and a son who now had to figure out how to exist inside that same machine without getting crushed by it. The Lakers handed Bronny a 4-year contract and a spot on the same roster as his father, LeBron James. That alone made history. No father and son had ever suited up together in NBA history at the professional level. That fact alone guaranteed Bronny would never play a single minute in obscurity. Every pass, every missed shot, every hesitation on the wing would be dissected by millions of people who had already decided what they thought of him before he ever touched an NBA floor. And then they hired J.J. Redick to coach this whole operation. J.J. Redick was brought in as head coach in June 2024, a man with 0 head coaching experience, but 15 years of NBA playing time and a sharp analytical mind built from years of broadcasting and podcasting. He also happened to be one of LeBron's closest friends in the league. The two had co-hosted the Mind the Game podcast together. When Redick got the job, the basketball world immediately understood what that meant. LeBron had a voice in this. The hire was designed, at least in part, to keep LeBron happy, to keep him in Los Angeles, and to keep the whole operation from imploding. So when Redick stood at the podium at Bronny's introductory press conference in July 2024 and made a point of correcting Bronny's own words when Bronny suggested things had been given to him, and Redick immediately pushed back, you had to pay attention to what was really happening. Redick said, Rob, and I did not give Bronny anything. Bronny has earned this. Bronny talks about his hard work.
And for us, prioritizing player development, we view Bronny as like case study 1, because his base level of feel, athleticism, point of attack defender, shooting, passing, there's a lot to like about his game.
That is the unfiltered version of what much of the basketball world was thinking. But most people were too careful to say out loud. And Coach Nick was not finished. He's just not an NBA player. He looks in my mind like almost like worse than he was. Those words landed like a punch. Not because they were surprising, but because they said plainly what the statistics were already showing quietly. And those statistics heading into the heart of the 2025-26 season were about to force J.J. Redick to make a choice. A very public, very uncomfortable choice. The breaking point. The night that changed everything happened in November 2025 during a blowout went over the Milwaukee Bucks. On the surface, it was a good night for the Lakers. They won 11-95, a comfortable margin, the kind of game where coaches sometimes let younger players get meaningful minutes and build confidence. Bronny was in the starting lineup. His teammates were setting him up. Luka Doncic, who had arrived in Los Angeles via trade earlier that year, was drawing double teams and kicking the ball out to exactly the kind of open looks that Bronny needed, that Bronny had been coached all year to take without hesitation. Bronny passed, then he passed again, then he passed again. 3 wide open three-pointers. 3 times Bronny looked at the basket, looked at the ball, and decided the safer play was to move it to someone else. In any other situation with any other player, a coach might pull him aside quietly, show him the film the next morning, have a calm conversation about decision-making. That is the normal way these things go. J.J. Redick did not do that. What happened, instead, was caught on multiple camera angles. Redick was on the sideline, watching his carefully designed offensive system produce the exact looks it was supposed to produce, and watching his player refuse to take them. And right there in front of everyone, Redick let it out. Bronny, you got to shoot the bleeping ball. That moment went viral immediately. Clips of it spread across every social media platform within hours. People slowed it down, zoomed in on Riek's face, read the words off his lips, and argued about what it meant. Was this a coach being appropriately demanding? Was this a coach who had lost his patience with a player who was wasting his time? Was this a sign that the whole arrangement, Bronny on the roster, LeBron's friend coaching the team, the whole carefully constructed narrative of merit and development was starting to crack? Bronny addressed it after the game with a response that was mature and measured. He said he was focused on bettering himself off the ball. He talked about the .5 mentality, acting within half a second on open looks, and credited Riek for pushing him toward that mindset. He said he and Riek had talked through what needed to change. He took the coaching without complaint. Bronny said, "I'm trying to focus now on bettering myself off the ball. Me and JJ have talked about all the ball handlers on the parent team. So I have to learn how to be effective off the ball, work habits." He was quoted saying, "That's the barrier of entry for him right now." The phrase barrier of entry is stark language. It means you have not yet paid the price of admission. You are standing outside the door. You have to earn the right to walk through it. Meanwhile, the broader dynamic inside the Lakers organization was generating its own kind of turbulence. Luka Doncic had arrived in Los Angeles and immediately become the center of gravity for the offense. LeBron was in his second decade of being the defining personality of any locker roomie entered, and J.J. Wright, a first-year head coach turned second-year head coach, was managing a roster full of enormous personalities, enormous contracts, and enormous expectations. Into this mix, Bronny's limited contributions were increasingly difficult to defend on basketball grounds alone. His numbers through the 2025-26 season told a difficult story. 2.1 points per game, 0.5 rebounds, 1.2 assists, and just 7.2 minutes per night across 31 appearances. His field goal percentage had risen from his rookie year from 31.3% to 39.7%, but the volume was so low that the improvement was nearly meaningless in terms of real impact. His peers sat around 9.6, well below the league average of 15. His overall plus-minus was 20, meaning the team was being outscored when he played. These are not the numbers of a developmental success story.
How do you feel about the way Bronny James played?
So, it's unfair that he is there, is what I'm going to say. Mm-hmm. I think it's clear, the reason why he's there is because LeBron, has kind of made sure he's there.
And it hit like a knockout punch. Analysts weren't whispering anymore. They were calling it straight. Bronny James wasn't producing at an NBA level, and the numbers backed it up. That pressure forced J.J. Redick into a brutal spotlight. Develop the project or chase wins. The breaking point came in a blowout win over Milwaukee. Perfect setup, wide open looks, system working flawlessly, and Bronny passed up 3 straight open threes. Redick exploded on the sideline, yelling for him to shoot. The clip went viral instantly. Fans debated everything. Tough coaching or public embarrassment, development or dysfunction. Bronny stayed composed, preaching the 0.5 mentality. Make a decision instantly, no hesitation. But the reality was harsh. Hesitation was still there when it mattered most. Behind the scenes, Redick kept it blunt. Conditioning was a barrier of entry. Translation: earn your place or stay outside the door. Meanwhile, the Lakers' locker room was a pressure cooker. Luka Doncic had become the offensive engine. LeBron James still commanded the spotlight, and Redick was holding everyone accountable, even calling out LeBron mid-game for lack of focus. No one was safe. But Bronny's numbers told a tough story. Limited minutes, low impact, negative plus-minus. Even improved shooting percentages meant little without volume. G League flashes showed promise. But that success wasn't translating to NBA speed or pressure. The gap between potential and production kept growing. Redick walked a tightrope. Criticize too hard and risk the LeBron relationship. Go soft and lose credibility. Every press conference became a balancing act. Every game added pressure. By March, Bronny's role had shrunk, squeezed by rotations, new signings, and a team chasing playoff success. Development needed patience, but championship windows don't wait. There were flashes, defensive hustle, small breakthroughs, but not enough consistency to demand real minutes. And in the NBA, If is the most dangerous word. If he improves conditioning, if he gains confidence, if he becomes that defensive spark. The problem? The ifs kept stacking. This was never just about a rookie and a coach. It was about legacy, expectations, pressure, and reality colliding in one locker room. A father's shadow, a coach's reputation, a team's ambition, all fighting for space. Because in the end, the NBA doesn't care about narratives, connections, or potential. It only respects production. And until that changes, this story isn't about what Bronny could become. It's about whether he can prove he belongs at all. Thank you for watching this video. So subscribe for interesting videos.